Hello, my friends. Jill Ortiz here in my Empowered Fitness community for women over 40 looking to get energized, confident, and strong. And I'm excited to be here today because I have prepared a special presentation on motivation, and it's inspired by the book that I'm currently reading. I really wanted this to be good, so I made 3 pages of notes and I'm ready to go. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So when I said I was reading one of these books, so I love listening to Audible books. I listen through the Audibles app, and I also use my cloud library from the local Palm Beach County library system, which is funny because sometimes I buy books and then I'm like, oh crap, it was in the library for free. But I do love having my library of books that I go back to quite often, and I read them over and over again. And I have been doing this for about 10 years, and it really started as something I was doing for personal development to become the better person, the bigger person. I feel like when you grow into a better, more well-rounded person, then you can be a better business owner. But what I found after recommending so many of the books that I've read is that we need to just become better, well-rounded people and have just a wider reach. I think my father-in-law would be so proud of me if he heard me saying this. He's one of those guys who has like walls and walls of bookcases full of books. And so when it comes to the books, I kind of like rotate through. I'll do the fantasy and fiction, love Iron Flame, Onyx Storm, Rebecca Yarros. Never thought I would be into the dragon fantasy scene, but I was introduced to that by my book club, which we actually are more like a wine club, but we do a little bit of book reading. Anything by Frida McFadden. I love the mysteries with the little twist at the end. I do books on menopause and bone health to help my professional growth. I love the books on the mental side of golf, which is really what's holding me back most of all in my golf game as opposed to anything technical. It's the mental side of the game, which is a tough game. I love listening to books on marriage and communication, on business, and even anger management. Yes, anger management. So one of the latest books that I'm reading is an author who I've read so many of her books over the years. They've helped me in so many ways, often as kind of like therapy, and that is Mel Robbins' The Let Them Theory. This has been wildly popular just in this time, in a fantastic book. I probably have about 30 minutes left. But I had an incident this weekend where it would have really benefited me to hear certain chapters of the book before I had this interaction with somebody. But then when I had the chapters come up literally the next day and I was listening, it really helped me reflect back on a situation and moving forward. And so in her book, The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins, if you want to check it out, it's got a green cover. She introduces this just transformative approach to motivation and personal empowerment. And it helps you deal with a lot of situations in a new way and have a technique and have tools to use. She emphasizes specifically that motivation is often unreliable and fleeting. And instead of waiting for motivation to act, she advocates for making deliberate decisions and taking immediate action. That is in line with another one of her books that I remember reading in, I think, 2017. I actually listened to it driving to New Orleans for my first bikini competition. Listened to it in the car on that way too long drive from New York. And that book is called The 5-Second Rule. And this 5-second rule involves counting down from 5 and acting before hesitation and fear sets in, thereby overcoming procrastination and self-doubt. And so you basically get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take action, right? Or if you're throwing yourself a pity party, it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get over it. So Mel asserts that motivation is internal, and motivation has to come within the individual. This was really important for me to hear too, because I'm always here trying to motivate people, and often I get discouraged, maybe not discouraged, I just get frustrated, right? I don't ever stop trying, but I get frustrated when people who seemingly want change don't take any action, and they blame it on their motivation. And so Mel says that no amount of external pressure or encouragement can make somebody change unless they are internally ready. And attempting to motivate someone who isn't ready can lead to frustration and oftentimes strained relationships. So think about wanting to make your spouse do something or your kids do something that they don't want to do. It's going to be very frustrating for you to keep trying to make them something that they're not. But what you can do is influence other people by your example. And so while you can't directly motivate others, you can influence them by embodying the behaviors and attitudes that you wish to see from them. So by focusing on your own growth and demonstrating positive changes, which is going to help you then influence others and create an environment that may inspire them to reflect on their own journey and possibly make change themselves. So she also goes a lot deeper into motivation and talks about what has to be there to find your own motivation. One of those things is self-awareness, right? Recognizing that you want to change or improve something. And she talks a lot about how, and we say this a lot, and I say this a lot, how your desire to change has to be stronger than your desire to stay the same or have the little immediate pleasures that you can choose otherwise that will not lead you to where you want to be, but will make you satisfied in the moment. So what we do want to do is give ourselves the best opportunity to spark or to create a spark that kind of says triggers I want more of that, So putting ourselves in that situation, having awareness, and then having just the smallest spark get us started. She also says that we have to stop waiting for motivation to hit. She specifically says that motivation is not a prerequisite for action. And what I always say is that action creates motivation. So I don't care if you feel motivated today to work out, just start moving, and taking that action will help create and generate more motivation. It often follows. Motivation follows action instead of preceding it most often. So stop waiting for motivation to change and start taking action and creating that motivation for yourself. Mel says that small little deliberate steps can really create momentum. And when your brain starts to release the dopamine of you starting to take action and seeing the results and the change, then that's going to continue to help build confidence and build momentum in building that motivation. Okay. So again, she's using the 5-second rule quite often to just give yourself 5 seconds and then take action of doing something, right? Example, I want to go for a run. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put your shoes on, head out the door, right? No mulling over, is the weather right? Am I going to sweat? Do I want to wash my hair later? Is this going to be horrible? Am I going to hate it? Am I going to want to throw up? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, put your shoes on, walk out the door, right? Another big thing in this is focusing on personal ownership. So claiming your ownership of your actions and your decisions. When people feel in control of their choices, that drive becomes internalized. So this is something that we did, my husband and I, in a parenting course we learned, was instead of constantly saying when our kids were really little, did you brush your teeth? Did you put your jammies on? Did you do this? Did you put your books in your book bag for tomorrow? Once all those things are done, you can finally watch TV. But it was we were constantly asking and nagging until we made a sheet of paper and we did it with our kids. So it was really just our older son. And we had JJ write out himself and make pictures of the things on his checklist. So brush my teeth, get ready for bed, pick out my clothes for tomorrow, put my books in my backpack for tomorrow. And then it said, watch TV before bed or read a story with mommy and daddy. And we put that on the wall and that became his ownership. He owned that checklist. It wasn't us telling him to do things. It was his checklist. And so he took ownership and he felt more, driven to do his list because he owned it, right? So instead of telling everybody to do things, influence them to feel more in control and take control, and you need to do the same for yourself, right? So that external pressure, you should do this, you need to do that, is not going to work half as good as somebody figuring out for themselves that they need to do something. So again, creating conditions, helping to make it easier for others to find their own path, either by your example and your actions, your thought-provoking questions as opposed to giving directions, and celebrating small wins along the way. Super, super helpful in this process. The last thing Mel talks about in terms of creating and generating motivation is knowing that motivation is the product of emotion and vision. So number one, we have to start to get in touch with the feelings, right? And that could be feelings of what happens if you stay the same, what happens if you get worse, or what happens down the line if you achieve your goals. So I'll do this often with people when I'm on my game plan calls, is if somebody says, the scale keeps going up and I used to be 140 and now I'm 180. And I might say, well, what kind of feelings would you have if you went up to 200? Because if that's the trend and what you're doing is leading you there, then that's the next step. Are you okay being a 200-pound woman? And that person might be like, oh my God, I would be embarrassed at that. I know some of you might be excited by getting down to 200, but they might, they're going to start tapping into the feelings of what does that mean for me? Have I failed? Have I not tried? And that can get, that brings that emotion in. And then it's that instilling the vision of, okay, I have a ton of confidence that I have the tools to get you to your goal. So if you're at 200 and your goal is 140, and I've helped several women who are just like you lose 60 pounds, and I tell you, by December, by March, I see that you are 140 pounds. There's no reason why you shouldn't be if you're following the plans and starting to learn and empower yourself and are consistent and accountable, then you're at 140 in the new year. How does that feel? What do you see? And then she closes her eyes and she starts to see herself in like a little black dress that she's, she hadn't even gone to New Year's parties because she didn't want to dress up. She just wanted to be alone, at home. And you start to envision that future self. And so the emotion of staying the same or getting worse, plus the vision of the future, that can really bring this motivation, right? So one of the things that Mel uses as an activity in this book is called her 5 Whys method for motivation. And it's interesting because this is a book that I've had, I only have a couple pages left, but I used to put all these trainings. I do a lot of trainings. I used to put my thoughts and write programs and all this stuff. And it's funny, I just opened up to the right page because this was maybe 5 years ago or more that I wrote this for myself. And so I did this same activity. And so the purpose of the activity is to uncover your true internal reasons for wanting a change beyond surface level wants or external pressures, because motivation sticks when it's tied to a deep personal why. So the whole idea of this 5 whys is that you identify the goal or the desired change. So I'm going to take you through an example and then I'll tell you about the one that I had written down. So it's kind of like stating with a clear statement of what you want to do, right? And you can do this activity as well. For example, I want to start exercising regularly, for those of you who aren't, right? Well, the first question, so you ask why the first time. And so you ask yourself, why do you want this goal, right? Being honest and specific. The answer would be because I want to feel healthier and have more energy. Okay. So then you have to ask why again. This gets deeper. What does feeling healthier and having more energy really give you? So your second why is because I want to be able to play with my kids or my grandkids without getting tired. And then you keep asking why. So why is that important? Because I want to be present and active in my family's life. Well, why? Because I want to feel proud of myself and set a good example for them. Well, why? So this is your fifth why. Because I want to live a life that I can look back on without regret. Okay? So we get deeper and deeper and deeper in reflecting the core drivers, the deep emotional drivers of our goals. And so when we talked about, what motivates us, it's that deep connection to the why. And so you can really only get there if you are doing this kind of 5 whys activity. And so I absolutely recommend that you all do this and do it in quiet when we hop off, so write yourself a little thing. What is your goal, right? What is your goal or your desired change? And so I'm going to take you through another example of when I did this many years ago. And so I was, my desired change was to build a business in fitness, right? Because I was a VP of finance and accounting. It was to challenge myself to do something very uncomfortable and outside the box and go from a steady 6-figure job in corporate to doing something that was in my passion zone and on my own. Hello, scary, right? And so I asked, why is this important to me to challenge myself to build this new business? And I said, because I'm generally most fulfilled when I'm growing and achieving something greater. And at that point, I felt very stagnant in my career. I was sitting around waiting to become CFO. And even then, I didn't really think that it was going to feel motivating and challenging. And I'm very much driven by growth. And so I said, because I'm generally most fulfilled when I'm growing and achieving something greater. Well, why? Because I thrive on recognition and knowing that I'm good at things. That really, again, it's a driver for me. Well, why? Because I really want others to see that in me and feel proud of me and feel motivated and inspired to see the same belief in themselves. Well, why is that important? Because it really bothers me when others can't see the potential in themselves and know that they can achieve anything. Well, why is that important? Because I hate seeing others unhappy and unsuccessful. And why is that? Because I feel their pain and I know how they feel and when they don't succeed or have faith in that they can. And I kept going deeper until I couldn't anymore. And so why is that important to me? Because I used to be painfully shy and scared and lacking confidence and anxious and worried about feeling alone or having others see me fail. Because then I probably wouldn't be worthy of their time, attention, and love. How deep did that get? Right? And so that was the driver for me to say, forget corporate. I need to do my own thing. I need to be growing. I need to be building something that's mine because this was incredibly important to me. And that's why I am here where I am and why I've been successful in this thing, because I've kept this so close to me, right? Because it gives me purpose and it helps me fulfill my desire to grow, to succeed, and to help others do the same, right? So I hope you've taken something away, that motivation is not something that's going to be handed to you. It's not something that you can wait for to take action, and that you need to unlock it yourself by digging deep, taking action, claiming ownership, and not giving yourself a chance to mull things over for more than 5 seconds. All right? Thank you for tuning in. If you have not, I encourage you to book a free game plan call with me so that we can start digging in together, so that I can prompt you with the questions that are really going to start hitting home for you, that are going to help you figure out, decipher the right actions to take, and get that ball rolling for you. I will continue to show up here to be the influencer that I can be, to show you what's possible, and to just hope and pray that someday you join me so that you can achieve some incredible success as well. So hope to see you on a game plan call, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.